Welcome. Our story today is titled, From the Mountains to the Depths of Space, the Epic of a Space Pioneer Across Planets and Galaxies. It is one of the fantasy stories. Close your eyes and listen. Once upon a time in a land far, far away, high in the Swiss Alps, where the stars blazed with an icy brilliance in the inky sky, Dr. Alistair Humphrey sat in contemplation. More than just a brilliant aerospace engineer, Alistair was a dreamer who looked at the cosmos not as a barrier, but as an invitation to explore. Years he had dedicated to the study of astrophysical mysteries, delving into the theories of relativity and wormholes, searching for the loophole that would allow humanity to surpass the ultimate speed limit of light. In his secluded chalet, transformed into a futuristic workshop, the prototypes for his spacecraft, the Peregrine, filled every corner. Peregrine was more than just a name. It embodied Alistair's ambition to reach the furthest point in the visible universe in the blink of an eye. Its design was inspired by the very architecture of the cosmos, the delicate harmony between gravity and electromagnetism. Alistair believed the key to faster-than-light travel lay in understanding how to manipulate spacetime itself, to fold its fabric and create shortcuts through what were known as wormholes. Tonight, the moon hung like a silver coin in the sky, casting a pale glow on Alistair's scattered tools. He was reviewing the final equations on his massive computer screen, his eyes gleaming with excitement. He had finally arrived at the definitive formula for the quantum fusion drive he had long envisioned. This engine would not rely on conventional fuel, but would instead harness the immense energy latent within the vacuum of space itself, the fleeting fluctuations of subatomic particles that constantly pulsed with life and dissolution. Alistair had spent years developing this technology, drawing on the latest discoveries in quantum physics. He knew the idea was audacious, bordering on madness in the eyes of many of his scientific peers. But his conviction was unwavering, fueled by an unyielding passion for knowledge and a profound desire to explore the unknown. He remembered the moment he had decided to dedicate his life to this project. He was a young boy, gazing up at the star-dusted sky from his family's cottage in the English countryside, when he saw a meteor streak across the darkness. In that instant, he felt an overwhelming urge to follow it, to launch himself towards the stars. Now, after years of tireless work, that dream was on the verge of realization. Alistair activated a miniature model of the engine. A faint blue spark appeared, then the light intensified gradually, accompanied by a soft hum. Alistair felt his pulse quicken. The initial test was successful. This was the first flicker of a flame that would ignite a journey unlike any other. But Alistair knew the road ahead was long and arduous. Building a spacecraft capable of withstanding immense acceleration forces and navigating through wormholes was an unprecedented engineering challenge. Furthermore, there was the matter of funding. He had poured his life savings into the project, but he desperately needed additional support to transform the prototype into a full-fledged spacecraft. The following day, Alistair resolved to present his project to the European Space Agency and to a select group of investors interested in cutting-edge technology. He knew it was a significant gamble, but the opportunity to explore new worlds was worth any risk. Alistair prepared a detailed presentation explaining the scientific theory behind the quantum fusion drive and the design of the Peregrine. He was confident in his ability to persuade them, for the dream he harbored was not merely a personal ambition, but a necessary step in expanding humanity's horizons and unraveling the secrets of the vast universe. Inside the Peregrine's cockpit, soft blue lights pulsed in rhythm with the humming of the quantum fusion drive. Alistair felt a subtle tremor, barely perceptible, before complete stillness settled in. He glanced at the main navigation screen, which displayed their position relative to Earth. The blue dot representing his home planet was shrinking rapidly, receding into the inky blackness of space. Moments later, the indicators began to shift dramatically. The speed was not increasing in a conventional manner, but leaping by astronomical figures that defied his previous understanding. The Peregrine was piercing the fabric of spacetime, exploiting quantum fluctuations that the quantum fusion drive had allowed it to open. Alistair felt a peculiar sensation, as if the very laws of physics he had known his entire life were dissolving, replaced by new realities he could only have imagined. There was no sensation of acceleration, but rather a feeling of gliding through different layers of existence. The stars around him appeared to blur, morphing into streaks of colored light before vanishing entirely. It was akin to traversing an endless tunnel of light and shadow. Alistair monitored the engine data and other screens with intense focus. Each reading confirmed the success of his theory. He had indeed achieved speeds far exceeding that of light. The Peregrine was now sailing through space at a velocity no human had ever dreamt of. Time began to lose its meaning. Alistair no longer perceived the passage of hours or days in the traditional sense. The journey felt more like a long dream, where images and scenes overlapped in an illogical sequence. Yet, he remained vigilant, driven by the responsibility of this historic moment. After what felt like an eternity, the indicators began to change once more. The streaks of light gradually resolved into fixed points, and the stars reappeared, but this time they were different. Their colors were more vibrant, their distribution across the sky entirely unlike the view from Earth. Alistair knew he had reached another galaxy. The Peregrine decelerated slowly, and the familiar sensation of gravity returned. Alistair peered through the main viewport, his jaw dropping in astonishment. The planet he had chosen as his initial destination was unlike anything he had ever seen. The sky was a deep violet hue, streaked with shimmering golden clouds. 2 moons orbited the planet, casting a dual luminescence that created long, bizarre shadows. Most remarkably, the continents appeared to be formed of blue crystal, reflecting the light of the stars and moons. Towering mountain ranges rose like emerald spires, and vast valleys were crisscrossed by rivers of shimmering silver liquid. The environment was both alien and breathtakingly beautiful. Alistair stood for a moment, gazing at the silver-skinned being with wide eyes. He felt not fear, but a profound sense of curiosity and a yearning to discover more about this strange world. The creature tilted its head gently, as if studying Alistair in turn. Then, it emitted a series of melodic, chiming sounds that resembled soft music. Alistair attempted to communicate in various ways. He gestured towards himself, then the spacecraft, then the sky, but the being continued to regard him with a puzzled expression. Alistair realized that verbal communication might be impossible. They would likely need to find another way to understand each other. Suddenly, the crystalline ground beneath Alistair's feet glowed with a soft light, and intricate patterns resembling drawings began to form upon it. Alistair watched this phenomenon in amazement. It was as if the planet itself was trying to communicate with him. He looked at the silver being, who was observing the patterns with the same fascination. Alistair surmised that the being might be a conduit, or part of a larger communication network connecting all life on this planet. He began to try and mimic the patterns appearing on the crystal ground with gestures of his hands, attempting to introduce himself. After several attempts, it seemed that the being understood. It emitted a clearer, more resonant chime, then gestured with one of its slender limbs towards a particular direction. Alistair understood that the being was inviting him to accompany it. After a moment of hesitation, he decided to follow his intuition. He felt no threat from this gentle creature and was eager to explore more of this wondrous world. Alistair began to walk behind the silver being, who moved with graceful agility across the crystal surface. As they walked, Alistair noticed more of the strange inhabitants around them. There were flying creatures with transparent wings that scattered rainbows of color in the air, and small, squirrel-like animals with fur that glowed in the dim light. The planet seemed teeming with life, but life utterly different from anything he had known on Earth. After leaving the planet of the crystal beings, Alistair set a new course based on information gleaned from the collective consciousness he had briefly tapped into. There was a faint signal pointing towards a distant nebula, said to hold remnants of a long-vanished civilization. The journey involved traversing several wormholes, a process that still felt surreal despite his growing experience. The Peregrine glided through tunnels of distorted light and color, emerging into the inky blackness punctuated by the distant glow of galaxies. Finally, he arrived at the designated nebula. Unlike the vibrant hues of the crystal planet system, this nebula was a dark, brooding expanse of dust and gas, swirling with an almost palpable sense of ancient history. As the Peregrine ventured deeper, Alistair's sensors began to pick up unusual readings, faint energy signatures, and metallic echoes within the swirling clouds. Then, a colossal structure emerged from the gloom. It was a derelict spacecraft, far larger than the Peregrine, its metallic hull scarred and pitted, bearing the marks of eons drifting through the cosmos. It was clearly the relic of an advanced civilization, now lost to time. Intrigued, Alistair carefully piloted the Peregrine towards the massive vessel, deploying scanning drones to assess its structural integrity. The drones revealed extensive internal damage, with entire sections breached and exposed to the vacuum of space. Yet, a faint power source flickered deep within its core. Alistair decided to risk docking with the ancient ship, using the Peregrine's magnetic grapples to secure them to a relatively stable section of the hull. Venturing inside, he found a labyrinth of decaying corridors and vast, empty chambers. The air was stale and still, carrying the scent of dust and time. The technology within the ship was unlike anything Alistair had ever encountered. Intricate networks of conduits lined the walls, leading to complex devices whose purpose was now inscrutable. Hieroglyphic symbols adorned many surfaces, hinting at a language and culture utterly alien to humanity. As Alistair explored deeper, he discovered a central control room, its consoles shattered and sparking with residual energy. Despite the damage, one terminal flickered with a faint light. Using his linguistic analysis programs, Alistair painstakingly began to decipher the alien script. The data logs revealed a tragic story. The ship, named the Stardust Wanderer, belonged to a nomadic civilization that had traversed the galaxies for millennia. They were peaceful explorers, dedicated to charting the cosmos and sharing knowledge with other sentient races. However, they had encountered a hostile, technologically superior species, leading to a devastating war that ultimately resulted in their annihilation. The Stardust Wanderer was one of the last remnants of their once great civilization, a silent testament to a lost age of exploration and knowledge. Alistair felt a profound sense of loss and respect for these long-vanished voyagers of the void. Following the departure from the nebula of Titans, Alistair continued his journey, guided by the crystalline sphere he had received. The sphere seemed to resonate with the fabric of spacetime around him, pointing towards hidden pathways and guiding the Peregrine through routes that would not appear on any conventional star chart. The sphere led him to a peculiar region of space where no stars or galaxies were visible. It was as if they had entered a vast, dark, cosmic void. But Alistair trusted the sphere, continuing to navigate through the pitch blackness. Suddenly, faint lights began to appear on the horizon. As they drew closer, it became clear that these lights emanated from a massive nebula, but one unlike any he had encountered before. This nebula glowed with soft pastel hues, ranging from pale pink to sky blue and mint green. Its shape resembled a colossal jellyfish, slowly drifting through space, long tendrils of gas and dust trailing behind it like shimmering tentacles. Most astonishingly, a complete city floated within this nebula. The city appeared to be constructed of light and translucent matter, shimmering with the colors of the surrounding nebula. The buildings had unique, organic shapes, as if they had grown naturally from the heart of the nebula. Bridges of energy connected the structures, and small, bubble-like spacecraft drifted through the air. Alistair watched this breathtaking sight in awe. He had never seen anything like it. It seemed like a dream come true, an ethereal city floating in a celestial nebula. He decided to approach cautiously to explore this cosmic marvel. As the Peregrine drew closer to the city, its sensors began to register strange signals. These were not conventional radio or electromagnetic waves, but more akin to complex musical tones permeating space. It was as if the city itself was alive and singing. When the Peregrine reached the outskirts of the city, a spacecraft resembling a blooming flower appeared before them. The craft approached slowly, and from it emerged a being radiating a soft light. The being had a fluid form and appeared to be made of liquid light. The being communicated with Alistair by sending a series of musical tones directly into his mind. These were not words, but rather thoughts and emotions transmitted to him with perfect clarity. Alistair understood that this being was one of the inhabitants of this floating city, and that they were welcoming him. Following his departure from the luminescent city, Alistair's journey continued, guided by the wisdom contained within the crystalline sphere. The sphere now pulsed with a distinct rhythm, drawing the Peregrine towards a region of space characterized by intense gravitational anomalies. He arrived at a system unlike any he had previously encountered. A colossal black hole dominated the center, its immense gravity warping space-time into bizarre contortions. Orbiting this behemoth was a ring system of unimaginable scale, dwarfing even the rings of Saturn in his home system. This ring was not composed of ice and rock, but of swirling clouds of plasma and colossal derelict space stations locked in a chaotic dance around the event horizon. As the Peregrine navigated through the chaotic ring system, Alistair detected signs of past conflict. The derelict stations were riddled with battle damage, their hulls scarred by energy weapons and their interiors littered with debris. It was clear that a fierce struggle had taken place here. Suddenly, a massive energy signature flared in the distance. Two colossal entities, seemingly composed of pure energy, were locked in a fierce battle. They moved with incredible speed and power, their clashes unleashing bursts of radiation that rocked the Peregrine even at a safe distance. Alistair watched in awe and trepidation. These were beings of immense power, dwarfing even the scale of the stellar phenomena around them. He could only speculate on the reasons for their conflict. Were they remnants of the civilization whose stations now lay in ruins? Were they ancient cosmic forces locked in an eternal struggle? Alistair knew that getting caught in their crossfire would be suicidal. He carefully steered the Peregrine through the debris-filled lanes of the ring, trying to avoid attracting the attention of the warring entities. As he navigated the chaotic environment, he discovered a partially intact research station, seemingly shielded from the worst of the conflict. He managed to dock the Peregrine and ventured inside, hoping to find some answers about the history of this system and the nature of the energy beings. The station's data logs revealed a fascinating and terrifying history. The energy beings were once the guardians of this region of space, tasked with maintaining the balance around the black hole. However, they had become corrupted by their own power, leading to a schism and a devastating civil war that had shattered their civilization and left the ring system in ruins. The two entities currently locked in battle were the last remnants of this once powerful race, their conflict a destructive echo of a long-past tragedy. Alistair realized that this was a dangerous place, a cosmic battleground where the forces of creation and destruction were locked in an eternal dance. He gathered what information he could and quickly departed, eager to escape the orbit of the volatile black hole. Following his narrow escape from the conflict in the Saturnian ring Colossus, Alistair continued his journey, the crystalline sphere pulsing gently in his hand. It now guided him towards a system bathed in an unusual temporal distortion, where the very flow of time seemed to waver and ripple. He arrived at a unique planet, its surface covered in vast fields of shimmering crystals. These were not static formations, but pulsed with an inner light, displaying fleeting images and scenes that appeared to be living memories. Alistair cautiously landed the Peregrine and ventured out into the crystal fields. As he touched the crystals, he felt a subtle energy coursing through him, and the images they displayed became clearer. He witnessed brief glimpses into the lives of alien beings he had never encountered, saw breathtaking landscapes of worlds he had never visited. It was as if he were witnessing the history of the cosmos unfold before his eyes. He spent hours wandering through the fields, observing these transient moments from the lives of others. He saw moments of joy and sorrow, birth and death, entire stories playing out in fleeting seconds. It was a profoundly moving experience, making him feel both insignificant and connected to the vast tapestry of existence. However, he noticed that some of the images seemed to repeat, while others were fragmented and incomplete. It was as if the system was not perfect, with gaps and errors in the recording of memories. While examining a large crystal displaying a colossal space battle, Alistair suddenly felt a pull. He felt as if he were being drawn into the crystal, and he found himself briefly experiencing the battle from the perspective of one of the combatants. The sensation was overwhelming, the fear and adrenaline palpable, the sounds of explosions and the cries of other pilots echoing around him. It was an intensely immersive experience, feeling more real than just a memory. After a few moments, he was released, stumbling back from the crystal, disoriented and awestruck. He realized that these crystals did not merely display memories, they allowed one to experience them directly. After leaving the planet of echoes, Alistair continued to follow the faint signals emanating from the crystalline sphere. The journey led him to a bizarre region of space that seemed to be experiencing severe cosmic disturbances. Stars flickered erratically, and the light itself appeared to bend and distort around him. He entered a nebula unlike any he had seen before. It was not composed of conventional gas and dust, but seemed to be a fabric of intertwined dimensions. Colors that did not exist in the visible spectrum shimmered and moved around him, and complex geometric shapes formed and dissolved in the void. In the heart of this strange nebula, Alistair discovered something unbelievable. There was a cluster of planets that appeared to be intertwined with each other, connected by bridges of light and energy. These planets varied in size and color, and seemed to exist in different dimensions, yet they somehow intersected in this place. Alistair cautiously approached this cluster of intertwined planets. The gravity in the area was erratic, and Alistair felt the Peregrine shudder slightly. The laws of physics, as he knew them, seemed not to apply here. He decided to explore one of these intertwined planets more closely, choosing a small planet that appeared to be made of glowing green crystal. As he approached, he saw that the bridges of light connecting it to the other planets constantly shifted and changed color. Alistair landed the Peregrine on the surface of the crystal planet. The ground beneath him was solid, but vibrated gently. He looked around in amazement. Strange structures made of the same green crystal rose towards the sky, resembling trees or towers. Suddenly, Alistair felt as if something was pulling him upwards. He found himself floating in the air, then began to move rapidly towards one of the bridges of light that connected this planet to another that appeared to be made of liquid gold. Alistair tried to control the Peregrine, but it seemed unresponsive to his commands. He was being pulled by an invisible force across the bridge of light. The journey across the bridge was both breathtaking and terrifying. He saw flashes of other dimensions interspersed with the bridge, and felt a strange sensation as if he were passing through different layers of reality. After his perplexing experience within the twisted dimensional nebula, Alistair continued his journey, the crystalline sphere now pulsing with a clear and unwavering direction. Home. A sense of anticipation and a quiet longing filled him as he steered the Peregrine back towards Earth. The return journey was marked by a sense of familiarity, the constellations slowly shifting back into their known patterns. Alistair spent his time reviewing the vast amounts of data he had collected, a treasure trove of knowledge that would undoubtedly reshape humanity's understanding of the cosmos. He reflected on the myriad life forms he had encountered, the breathtaking landscapes he had witnessed, and the profound mysteries he had only begun to unravel. Finally, a familiar blue marble appeared against the black velvet of space. Earth, his home. A wave of emotion washed over Alistair, joy, relief, and a profound sense of accomplishment. He guided the Peregrine through the atmosphere, the familiar fiery entry a welcome sight. The spacecraft landed smoothly back in the Swiss Alps, the crisp mountain air a stark contrast to the exotic atmospheres he had recently experienced. Alistair emerged from the Peregrine to a world that felt both familiar and strangely distant. His return was met with a mixture of disbelief and elation. The scientific community was astounded by his claims and the evidence he presented, recordings, data, and even samples of alien materials. His journey sparked a global awakening, a realization that humanity was not alone in the vast expanse of the universe. Alistair became a global icon, his story inspiring awe and wonder. He shared his knowledge, collaborating with scientists across the globe, leading to breakthroughs in various fields. The crystalline sphere became a subject of intense study, its secrets slowly yielding new understandings of spacetime and consciousness. Though he had returned home, the cosmos still called to Alistair. He knew his journey was far from over. The universe held countless more wonders and mysteries waiting to be discovered. As he stood one night beneath the familiar starlit sky of Earth, he felt a deep connection to the distant worlds he had visited, the echoes of their stars resonating within him. His odyssey had come full circle, but the spirit of exploration, ignited on that alpine night so long ago, would continue to burn brightly within him, a guiding light for future voyages into the great unknown. And here the story ends. Follow more stories on the Eastern Nights channel. If you like the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to receive all new updates, and let us know your opinion in the comments.